I think we're living under a state-sponsored bully regime at the moment, right, Peter? Because, Dominic Raab has come out and I think rather stupidly admitted what we were all thinking, which is that really there was this threat of a vaccine passport to cajole the youth into getting their jab. And I don't like that kind of stuff.
No, good afternoon. And I think you're right. I think you're right in both counts. I think, and I hope actually, the government has no intention of bringing passports, COVID passports in. I think what they're trying to do is nudge people to take up the vaccination. I mean, I think it's right to be vaccinated. I think it's sensible. I think it protects you. But you shouldn't be forced to do it by the state. You shouldn't be forced to have a medical procedure just because the government somehow thinks it's good for everyone else. I mean, that's fundamentally wrong. But I guess it's what you were saying there, that they're trying to force younger people to get vaccinated, and then they won't actually go through with the threat. I mean, I was talking to a youngster some little while ago, and he said, yeah, I mean, I don't particularly want to be vaccinated, but if I'm told I can't go to the local pub unless I'm vaccinated, I'm going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And that is, as you say, sort of government would say it's a nudge policy. Wow. Some of us might say it's bullying.
Well, I think, what did the mafia used to do? If you don't pay us protection money, we'll burn your place to the ground. Look, if you don't get the vaccine, we'll burn your social life to the ground. I mean, it's not a massive leap, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think they need to do it. I mean, this to me is like the parent-child relationship that we didn't want, right? It's almost like I've got a stepfather that I never asked for, and he's now telling me what to do all the time, and I don't like it, and I think the British public don't like it either. But then to actually come out and admit it, do you not feel as though now, Peter, the credibility has gone, right? Whenever Boris Johnson threatens something or says something or cajoles something or nudges something, now we're just going to go, right, well, you don't mean it, you're only doing it because of this, you're essentially lying to us, and we're not having it.
Well, for sure, no decision has been made because this isn't a decision for Parliament. It's a decision for Parliament, not for the government. So the government can't say this has got to go through Parliament, and I'm not sure there's a majority in Parliament for it. And I mean, great credit to Boris Johnson for the vaccine programme,
absolutely,
for doing all that, and also for saying in the past that he'd eat his identity card if somebody made him produce it. So I don't think this isn't being driven by the Prime Minister. I think it's been driven by other members of his government. And if you can believe the media on this, and I think they're probably right, it's being driven by Michael Gove.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it, really? So why has Michael Gove got so much influence over this, do you think?
Well, there's always been this argument, hasn't there, between those who think that the government and the state know best, and therefore that you do what they say because it's in everyone's interest. And other people, which I would say would normally be members of the Conservative Party, who say, we believe in personal responsibility, freedom of choice and common sense. I mean,
I'm not sure Michael Gove believes in too much personal responsibility from what I've heard, Peter, but carry on.
Well, I mean, just on the personal responsibility, I was at the supermarket earlier today, and I would say 90% of the people in there will wear masks. They're not forced to wear it, but they're using their own personal responsibility and common sense to do so. And so that's, we should be at a situation by the time we get to September when so many people have been vaccinated. Hopefully I think already the COVID infection is falling. We're going to have to live with it. You don't have to produce, to say you've had a few vaccinations to go to a football match. I mean, it's ridiculous, in my view.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's just veer away from that and go towards what is another one of our big topics for this hour, and phone lines are lighting up on it. Let's keep it that way, ladies and gents. 03444991000. We're going to the phones throughout the show. We had some great calls yesterday on the vaccine stuff, so let's keep it coming, all right? I want to talk to you about the fact that some MPs, namely Chris Bryant, thinks Brexiteers are thick. I mean, what's your take on this?
Well, I haven't seen that comment.
Well, he basically said Brexiteers are thick.
Well, the thing is, and I think you alluded to this earlier, that if you can't win the argument, you attack the person. Instead of playing the ball, you play the player. And I think Chris Bryant, who was a huge fan of remaining in the EU, loves the EU, he's lost the argument. Brexit has proved to be a success. The fact that we had the vaccination programme is because we weren't in the European Medical Agency.
Yep.
So So he can't win the argument, so he attacks the players. And I think on reflection, Chris Bryant will probably think that was a bit of a silly remark and he should really apologise for it.
What he did was he retweeted a picture of some Sainsbury's shelves, right? And on the shelves, instead of there being food and stuff, right, there was just signs. It was basically like, you voted for this. If you were a Brexiteer, you're thick. And there was some pretty fruity language in there as well, it's fair to say. If you voted for Brexit and you voted for the Tories, you need to get out of here, yada, yada, yada. So he retweets this, okay? And then he deletes his retweet, but apologises because he didn't see the language. He didn't apologise for alluding to the fact that all Brexiteers are thick. 54% of his own constituents voted for Brexit, for goodness sake. I mean, are we going to just kick him out, do you think?
Well, I don't agree with Chris Bryant on his policies. And I just think when you do that, you show that you've lost the argument. Yeah. And, Chris is, should be fair-minded and say he shouldn't have said that. He's insulting more than half the country. And it's just not what you should do as a politician. You should argue about the policy. You shouldn't argue about the people. I mean, to say that, over half the country is thick, it's just a silly thing to say.
If you were running a business,
somebody desperate, really.
Yeah, if you were running a business, right, and your CEO says something that calls half of your own customers thick, right? I mean, presumably your share price would go tumbling. Maybe that's why Labour's share price is on the floor at the moment, because if they want to win back the red wall seats, the vast majority of which did vote for Brexit, they're going a funny way about it, aren't they?
Well, I think Labour are in a terrible pickle. I mean, the traditional patriotic Labour voter who believes in this country voted for Brexit, whereas it seems to be the people that control the Labour Party at the moment are all Remainers, or tend to be from London, who have this sort of elitist view of society, and they're out of touch with the British people, which is why the Conservative Party is still way ahead in the polls, despite us being in power for such a long time and having to deal with COVID. So, comments by Chris Bryant that all Brexiteers are thick will just increase the Conservative vote.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Thank you very much, Peter Bone. Really enjoyed that. Great to have you on board, as always. Peter Bone, their Conservative MP for Wellingborough, initially talking to us about what I am calling state-sponsored bullying when it comes to the vaccination programme now, because I think it actually is. Dominic Raab has come out and admitted, hasn't he, that actually the only reason why they wanted to kind of float vaccine passport ideas was to cajole the young into getting a jab. I don't need to be cajoled into anything. I was, as it turned out, so thank you very much. And now I really, really despise you. And I think a lot of people are going to feel that way, frankly. A lot of people are going to feel like that. When you realise you've just been mugged off massively. And I felt like I was being mugged off at the time. You know, when someone hands you an offer that sounds too good to be true on the phone, and maybe when you're a bit younger, you go, all right then, and you just realise you've just been done out of 50 quid. That's kind of how I feel now, frankly. You know, we always felt like we've been a bit mugged off, didn't we? And it turns out we actually were. Well, the next time he stands up and says anything, you can't believe him, can you? The next time he stands up, or this government stands up and says anything, you know, well, actually, I'm much more inclined now, and I wish I'd done it before, much more inclined to say that's a hard no from me. 03444991000. By the way, that poll is doing the rounds. Get you the results very quickly. Are Brexiteers thick? Labour MPs seem to think so.